This is a remote sensor that measures humidity and temperature, and you can place these things anywhere. They integrate into Home Assistant. And I've made lots of these for my own house, but now I'm starting to make them for other people, which means I need to package them up. So in this video, I don't actually want to talk about that sensor. I want to talk about the box it comes in. So let's get started. Hey, it's Steve and welcome back. In this video, I want to show you how to impress customers very easily when they either see your product at maybe a craft fair or when you send something to them. And that's just by making the packaging so much better. And if you look at the out-of-the-box experience with, say, any Apple product, and there's many other companies that do this well, but it's a whole experience to open that box and see what's inside. And it's not just a case of, taking your product, wrapping it in bubble wrap and sending it to a customer. So in this video, I'll show you a very simple way to create packaging for that, in this case, that temperature sensor that I showed you at the beginning. But this could be anything, and this will cost you almost nothing. You can do things really quickly, and you can use any laser you want. So with that, let's jump right in, and we'll start with some of the things you're going to need here. The requirements here are pretty simple. You need some polyethylene foam, some cardstock, and some double-sided tape. And in this case, the double-sided tape is a standard 3M tape used by people who are scrapbookers. The polyethylene foam you can get in any packaging. If you order anything from Amazon, quite often it'll come in this sort of thing. The second thing you're going to need is a laser. I'm going to use my Acmer P3, but you can use any diode laser pretty much, or any CO2 laser. Really, the only challenge here is to cut the foam. Now, if you're using a diode laser, I'll warn you in advance, don't try and cut white polyethylene foam because it just will not cut with a diode laser. If you're using a CO2 laser, you're fine. Now, when you ship something, you don't just want to throw it in a box and have it rattling around during shipping because it could get damaged. And in this case, that's why I'm using the polyethylene foam, because I want to put a foam cap on each end. One end has a USB power adapter, which has a two prongs sticking out of it to plug into the wall, and the other end has the temperature sensor, which sticks up slightly from the case. So in Lightburn, I'm going to model those two pieces of foam, and you can see the settings here. It's pretty simple. I am using 3 passes because polyethylene's a bit hard to cut with a diode laser, but it cuts fine. And when I cut this out, I'm showing you here in real time, just so you can get a sense of how quickly you can create these things. It's all cuts. There's no engraving or anything that's going to slow you down. And you can see it's doing the 3 passes there. So it happens really quickly, and when you're done, you can just pop it out and it's ready to go. So to mount it, I put the caps on each end, and it's just a case of dropping them on there, and you're ready to package this. The last thing I need to do here is take that foam packed item and put it into a really custom made box, and that box has a proper flap so you can open it, and I'll put a logo on the top of the box just so it looks really professional. Now that might all seem pretty intimidating, but the reality is you can make one of these designs in literally minutes. And I'm using a tool here, and this tool came from Carl over at the Tinkerverse channel. I've kind of gotten to know him a bit, and he does some cool stuff, so go watch his channel as well. And the tool he inspired me to use here is one called Templatemaker, and it's a free tool, but they also have a commercial pathway into this tool. But you can see, just looking at the site here, you can make all kinds of boxes. I'm going to do something fairly modest here and pick the basic gift box, and I'm going to enter my dimensions. I've measured the foam packed item, and I'm going to put the length, width, and height in here, and it's 96 millimeters long and about 41 millimeters square on the height and width. And really, that's kind of all you have to do as far as measurements go. You can increase the flap size if you want something bigger. There's really flexible options here. And then I'm going to pick the paper size that I'm going to use. I'm going to try and squeeze this into a standard US letter size paper. but you may have to get 11 by 17 paper. And then I'm going to pick an SVG file because that's typically what Lightburn works with, and really that's it. Now this next step is completely optional. Do it if you want, but it just makes things easier downstream. So I always load the generated file into Inkscape, and you can see when I do that there's a logo there and a couple of pieces of text with the file name, and I'm just going to ungroup everything here and delete those two things just because they're a major distraction. They won't actually impact Lightburn, but you know, they annoy me. I'm also going to select the two colors here. In this case, I'm selecting the purple and I'm going to turn it to red. And I'm selecting the light blue, the cyan, and I'm turning it to dark blue. And the only reason for that is it makes it easier for Lightburn to detect which layers it should use. And that's the next step. So I brought up Lightburn and I imported that SVG file that got created and I modified in Inkscape. And you can see the box here, and it automatically selected the red and the blue just like I had hoped. So I don't have to worry about that, but I do have to worry about positioning here because this design coincidentally fit perfectly on an 8.5 by 11 page. So if I'm misaligned slightly, it's not going to cut properly. Fortunately, the Acmer P3 has great positioning, so I'm just going to push the paper down into the lower left corner of the workspace at 0, 0, and it will cut perfectly. Now, as far as settings, the blue setting here is a score, and you definitely have to play with this because the power is very, very sensitive, power and speed here. If you're too slow or slightly too much power, you'll actually cut your box in many pieces, and you don't want that. You just want this score to be deep enough that it creates a natural folding point. And then the red is the cut layer there. Now there is one other thing I want to do here, and that's to put my logo on the lid of the box. And again, I want this to be more of an emboss, so I'm not going to go crazy with power, but through some empirical testing of my own, building some of these boxes, I found the right settings. The last step here is to pass this over to the laser. Now I'm not going to show you the whole process end to end, but I'll show you the engraving here because I want it to do real time again. So you can see the engraving's really quick to score those lines, and then the cut again is equally quick. The total time to make this was about a minute on a 48 watt Acmer, and you can see the result. When I pull this off the workspace, it looks fantastic. You get the engraved logo. And if I just grab one of the corners here and fold it, you can see how easily this folds. And all in all, a really nice box. And all we got to do is stick it together now. And that process should be equally easy. Just lay the template down on a table and run some double-sided tape on. Now you can use other tape if you want, or some glue, but this stuff works really easily and it seems to adhere pretty well. Then it's just a case of folding the box up into the right shape, and you'll see if you've got your engraving set properly that this will fold really easily. And just press the sides together on the double-sided tape, and there you have a box. And it's very simple, very, very cheap. A piece of cardstock costs, I don't know, 10 cents and a bit of tape. So all in all, a very cheap way to package, and it'll really impress customers. With the box done, I can now pack my item, and you see the two pieces of foam there, and it just slides right in. It's perfect fit. And fold the flaps down and close the box. And now I have this really professional looking thing that I can ship to a customer. And when the customer gets it, what he or she sees is a box with my logo. They open it up, and inside is what they ordered. And they should be impressed, and hopefully they are. So that's it. And hopefully now you can call yourself a packaging expert. This is truly easy to do, and it's definitely cost effective. It won't eat into your profit margins, and your customers will love you for it. So I'll put links to all of the materials I used in the description down below. Those are affiliate links, so if you use them, you're helping out the channel. And if you're interested in more videos like this, I'll put one up here, which hopefully you can go watch next. And with that, I'll wind down and say get out there and make your world, and I'll see you next time.